Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that was requested quite a bit, and I promised that I would get to it, and here it is today. The type of person that an avoidant always goes back to. Okay, and so in summary, just for some of y'all who only watch the first minute, it is a person who is genuine to them. It's a good person, but it's typically the person that an avoidant was not ready for at that time. So it's not personal to you, it's personal to them, actually. And I'm not necessarily saying this is a healthy dynamic. When an avoidant or a person continues to go back to somebody, there is a reason, right? And it's usually a good reason. A lot of people think it's nefarious or just negative, where it's like they think you're easy or they're trying to hurt you or they're trying to take advantage of you. Most of the time, it's their own lack of contentment within themselves, and they feel like maybe they didn't get enough from you, or they feel like they didn't do right, and then they try again and they fail again. And so it's an unhealthy dynamic. They keep trying to get back with you, but they're not ready. But then you want something and they want something different, and it never works. But usually what happens, the pattern, what I see, is the person who an avoidant always goes back to is someone who's genuine. Someone an avoidant is not ready for, but still loves. And basically, when two people can't find a common ground, but there is love there, this pattern happens, right? Having a relationship is not just about love. It's one of the ingredients for that foundation, but it is not the only ingredient, okay? Love is only part of it. But when you and a person love each other, but nothing else is working, usually the relationship more looks like this. Off and on, back and forth, avoidant always coming back, or you always leaving, or you always coming back, something like that, right? And so we're going to talk about a little bit more details of who that person is that the avoidant always goes back to, and also what can we do so that next time they come back, it sticks instead of in continuously in this cycle. Because like I said, I don't think it's a healthy dynamic typically, okay? So one of the first characteristics of somebody who an avoidant always goes back to is a person who was genuine. So who was themselves? Sounds very cliche, very typical, but it is true. Why? Why is it true? A person who is genuine is somebody who actually feels very safe in the long run, but very threatening in the short run, which could be why they run away sometimes. Why is it threatening in the long run? Because a person who is genuine, that means you're also going to be genuine with your feelings. That means you're also going to be genuine with your disappointment. And that also means that it's a higher likelihood for them to fail you and for you not to lie about it, for you to actually feel those feelings. And so they're going to have to face a lot of their inadequacies, what they feel is inadequate about themselves. So they like that about you, but it's hard for them to actually compete with that reality. So like we were saying, you're a genuine person, but they're not ready for you. Nothing to do with you, it has to do with them. So it's the first one. The second one, typically it's a person who challenged them in a way to change for the better, but they weren't ready. Some avoidants, a lot of them, they do step up. I used to be an avoidant, my partner used to be one, and this is actually something that both of us did. We challenged each other, but we just made it work. Honestly, it didn't even take that long, especially for him. But for me, it took a little longer. Never mind. But some avoidants, when you challenge them to change for the better, they do change and they do show up. Sometimes it takes longer, but some of them, especially when they're very unhealed or just younger in their healing journey, so they're trying to heal, they don't really know where the issues are, they are not ready. And so instead, they feel like you're doing something to hurt them, or you're manipulating them, or you're tricking them, or you're not genuine, or you're too difficult, whatever their narrative is, okay? And they run away from that. But then they realize with a little bit of time, they miss you, they love you, or maybe that you weren't being that harsh and they come back. And then you trigger them again, and they trigger you, and then break up and then come back, right? And so that's where that cycle comes from. The next one is a person who knows who they really wanted. This one is probably the most biggest one. This one I should have probably put first. A person who knows what they want, but the avoidant couldn't give them. This is probably the most terrifying for an avoidant who's not healed. And also, if they love you, it just is a really unfortunate feeling for them, and also an unfortunate feeling for you. You know exactly what you want, but an avoidant just can't give it to you. You want to get married, and they don't know. It's not that they said, no, I don't want to. They just don't know. You love them now, and they don't know if they love you yet. They probably do, but they're not really ready to say they love you because they want to know 110%, but you're more intuitive, you're more instinctual and you say, this looks like love, it is love, I love you, right? And they don't know that, they're not ready for that. They can't say that right now. They can't call it a relationship, because then a relationship means that you're going to have more questions, you're going to ask more things, you're going to want to get married, you're going to want to have kids, and they're not ready for any of that either. So they're not ready. But you are. You know what you want. They don't know what they want. It's not that they don't want it. They don't know what they want. This is where the issue is. Usually how to resolve this, it sounds very easy if I say it out loud. Very challenging emotionally, though. You would have to keep some of what you want, not necessarily to yourself, but be more flexible about it. Maybe you want to get married, but you understand that might not be possible. It probably will be, but you almost just word it that way so that they feel like they don't have to reach such a high standard to have you in their life, because they want you in their life, but they don't know if they can give you what you deserve, right? But again, you could also just find somebody who fits whatever is best for you. I'm not judging, okay? And of course, the last one, a person who an avoidant always goes back to, obviously a person they love. A lot of people don't believe this, but it's true. Most avoidants don't really like people. I don't know how else to put it. A lot of them really are just more like me, myself, and I. And so if they even let somebody else in, it's usually because they really, really care about you, whether they want to admit it or not, whether they even like that about the reality, they love you. Usually that's why they come back. So that's just the truth, okay? We're going to summarize we're going to summarize this at the end, but let's go ahead and talk about how we can actually fix this back and forth type of dynamic so that next time they come back, it can stay, okay? The very first one we talked about a little bit, and I know a lot of you guys won't like this, but it's true. Readjust your expectation without compromising everything, okay? If they can't give you a relationship label, but they can give you exclusivity, like you guys are just together, that might be an option for the relationship for now. Later you can revisit actually labeling the relationship, but at least you have something. Appreciate that, tell them that you appreciate that, and then at some point they need to compromise even more. And that's usually how it works with these types of relationships. That means that you have to adjust down a little bit and they have to adjust up a little bit, meet in the middle, okay? The next one is you don't want to spend too much time bringing up the issues that you guys have. Sometimes you want to enjoy the happy part of the relationship and not always bring negativity, because negativity can make avoidance shut down. And sometimes they leave simply because the negativity is very overwhelming, okay? The next one is acknowledging their actual efforts, okay? I know it's hard because you feel like it's a bare minimum and the bar is on the floor, it's under the floor, the bar doesn't exist anymore, it's in the core of the earth, whatever y'all are saying, right? And I know, I do get it, okay? But the reality is they are trying in their own way. A lot of them are. They wouldn't come back if they didn't have something, okay? A lot of them are not using you. Some are, and I've made a video on people using you, and you guys can look at that. But in general, if there is some effort, acknowledging that and telling them verbally out loud, okay? Now, the very last one is something that I do feel like I should put in this video. I don't think it fits with all of your guys' situation, so just take it with a grain of salt. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you don't feel like you can be happy in this relationship, if you feel like readjusting your expectations is not something you can do and that's not enough for you, it might be a good idea to reevaluate if this relationship is even worth it for you. And if it's time for you to walk away and also not entertain this relationship further and walk away without being angry and healing yourself. Because the reality is sometimes two people are just different. And it's just the way life is, okay? So usually if this is happening where a person is going back and forth and off and on, often, I'm just being very honest with you, it's usually when two people, not just one person, but where two people are pretty unhealed. Now, sometimes it's one person, but very often it's when two people are unhealed, because two people who are insecurely attached, but they're also pretty unhealed, they trigger each other, which is why you're seeing some of this. There are a lot of avoidants who don't do this, who never off and on, who never break up. I'm in a long-term relationship. I used to be avoidant. My partner used to be avoidant, and we've never, ever broken up, like not even remotely close, ever. And we both, you might not believe me, but we both, especially me, we were pretty like not securely attached, but I think there was a lot of willingness on both sides and just the commitment was always there and things like that. So it can be possible for avoidants who they might be very avoidant, but they still don't do the back and forth. They still have some emotional maturity. And so it's just something to think about and evaluate, who are you dealing with? Is this something that you want to continue? Okay. And over time, if the relationship doesn't really have much potential and you feel like, we keep going back and forth, we keep doing this, sometimes what ends up happening is both people do move on and they do find other love, and they find love and they move on and they're happy. And so that's a possibility. It's okay. It's not like you're going to be trapped into this forever. You can make it work together or you can make it work separately. Okay. Just giving information. Hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.